from
Cienfuegos.
Thank you, Maria. You got on camera a little bit. We are still in that town, and we've invaded one of our participants' room because Denise here has the best view of sunrise, which is quite nice, but it's also just beautiful looking out over the town, watching it wake up, listening to the sounds as people start to go about their normal Wednesday life. I look a little sunburnt. The light is bouncing off this red wall here. As I said, we're up here on the 6th floor photographing the town as it's coming alive. I thought I'd walk you through a nice picture that I just captured to see what I'm seeing. So behind us, we have this castle. It was an old private home, and now it's part of this hotel complex. It's quite nice looking. And the first thing I'm going to think about here is just, what is my aperture going to be for this scene? I'm shooting with a fairly wide lens. I'm going to shoot this with a GH4 because that's the camera I have in my hand, and I can run through video at the same time. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring my aperture up. Right now it's f3.2, so I'm going to bring that up to probably 5.6. I could go a little bit higher, maybe 8, but I don't really need to go that high. With a wider lens, my subject is, what, 200, 300 meters away from me, then I really don't need to go to a very high aperture because my depth of field will be very large. And even though the scene looks very dimensional, actually I'm going to zoom in a little bit and start to kind of get my composition before I even decide on my aperture. There we go. So even though it looks kind of, there's nothing really in the background that needs to be in sharp focus. So we're really talking about from those palm trees in the front to some of the little spires or towers on this castle in the back. That's really not that much. So I'm going to go back down to about 5.6. That looks pretty good. Now it's a little bright, and actually the picture you're going to see in a minute is one I took a few minutes ago when the light was just a little bit nicer. It's the sun has made its way into the clouds. But I'm going to raise my shutter speed just enough so that I'm avoiding handshake, and then maybe a little bit more to be safe. And then my ISO I'm going to use to center my exposure meter, or in many cases I'm going to use my ISO to put my exposure meter where I think it should be, because remember, the camera always wants it to be in the center, but sometimes you want it to be a little to the right of center. Sometimes you want it to be a little bit to the left of center, depending on what you're photographing in the light. The other thing I'm going to be watching out for is, see in that top left corner, right up there is that bit of other land that's sneaking into the frame. There's a little boat going by as well. I want to try to get that out of the frame. I could probably pretty easily clone that out later, but why not just do it right now? The other thing I want to watch out for is getting that bit out, plus not chopping off any of that left-hand side of the palm tree. And now we actually have this yellow car in the bottom of the frame. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit to make sure I don't have that yellow car in there. And somewhere right around there, I'm going to shoot my picture. See that red wall back there? It's making me look sunburnt. That's better. So, first thing I was thinking about most of the time is, what do I want my aperture to be for the scene? Then I'm checking in on my shutter speed, make sure it's fast enough to avoid handshake. If it's a moving subject, make sure it's fast enough to freeze that subject if that's what I want. And then really, I'm just doing a quick glance at ISO and using that to get my exposure meter where I want, which is often somewhere near the center, but not always exactly at center. Because remember, the camera's idea of a proper exposure is that medium gray value. You don't always want that. If you're photographing a black cat, you want to make sure that that exposure value is a little bit under, so that the camera doesn't make that cat gray, but instead shows them as true black. Here we are in Trinidad, and we are staying in a private residence. You can think of it as an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast.
Got your movie camera going there, Toby?
I do, Harvey.
Good going.
What should I be recording?
I don't know.
You making your way up the stairs?
Yes. Too many souvenirs in this damn thing. This is my bed?
All right. Yo.
Libro de opiniones. Vamos a la terraza, vamos. Allá arriba, para que vean.
You'd show us?
Sí, ven.
Let's go see the upstairs.
Oh boy.
Mira qué fresco.
Let's go see the upstairs.
Qué fresco.
Watch your head, Harvey.
Ahora que no
Fresco.
encuentres la llave. Mira,
Is this the kitchen?
para desayunar y para comer
Bueno.
esta noche. Y allá arriba
Oh,
también.
all the way?
Todo
We can go all the way up. What's up here? So, you could choose to stay in a boring hotel, or you could come to a rooftop residence in Trinidad, Cuba. Holy moly. Comes Harvey. Harvey's been my roommate. I don't think I've shown him yet on this vlog.
I love it. This is beautiful.
Everybody knows what panty size you wear. Everybody for 6 blocks.
Video log, we can catch it on YouTube. Probably.
You know, I feel like every McKay trip has an epic moment or two, and many of them do seem to correspond with sunsets. Most recent memory, Greece. Although in New Zealand, I think it was the stars. Tonight, it's got to be this fantastic dinner we just had. So we're staying in these private residences, if you didn't already pick that up. A Casa Particular, they're called here in Cuba. We had dinner on the rooftop, just my roommate Harvey and I. And now we're just enjoying the sounds, the sights, the smells. Actually, there aren't really any smells. This town feels very clean, very well kept after. And look at this view out across the rooftops. It's after dinner and we're making our way up to some salsa dancing and music. So Cuba is a socialist nation. All of the hotels are owned by the government. And apparently all of the hotels use this Kami shampoo, which is terrible.